Well. Here we are again.
Took the words right out of my mouth. That's actually verbatim what I was just going to say.
No.
I'm dead serious.
You know what I was going to say? Kick it!
Oh,
He beat you to it.
I was going to get loud because I haven't been loud
That's
in a few
good.
episodes.
That's good. I'm happy about that.
Welcome to Hardheaded, the only practical and realistic podcast out there. Maybe.
That's called Hardheaded Podcast.
That's right.
That's
Thanks for tuning in. I'm your host, Troy Trussell, with me.
Troy, what? Trussell?
Three-shot
Trussell.
Yeah. I don't think we've even shared that story yet. Maybe in an upcoming episode we'll do that.
Yes.
I think we've said that before.
Yeah, and it's still true.
It's still true to this day.
We just haven't covered it.
We're just
Across
dragging it
from
out.
me is Matt Amos, and to my far right, very
Far.
right,
Very far right.
Mr. Chet Sears. And today we're going to start off with What's on Your Mind with Mr. Matt Amos, and then we're going to go into top 3 war movies.
War movies. And let me tell you, this week, all I've heard about Matt is research. I've got all this research I'm doing. So Matt basically for 7 days has been watching war movies.
Almost nonstop.
Yeah.
So do you have like, I mean, I'm guessing you have like a whole list of honorable mentions and then you have a top 3. Are we going that far with this?
Depends on what Chet does.
We'll see.
Yeah,
We'll
it kind
see.
of depends.
Yeah.
We'll see when we get there. See how we're feeling.
And then we're going to end it up with a sermon. I mean, a good word from Chet.
Thanks.
No, I mean, you always bring the good words.
Okay.
They're
Well,
very detailed.
You're putting a lot of pressure on me right now,
They're very
Troy.
detailed.
I don't know if I like this pressure.
And they're just good.
Like you prepared for a long time ahead of time.
I
and-
take something away from all of your good words.
Okay.
I really do. It's good. And
All
I think
right.
our listeners do too. So, yeah, Matt, what is on your mind, sir?
I really don't know. I'm kind of drawing a blank this week.
He's just worn out from all the war movie watching.
I am pretty tired because there was a lot of nights that I was up until
research.
I mean, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning researching, almost as in depth as Cobra Kai. I mean, I'm sitting here and I'm going from one to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next, because I've seen so many war movies in my life. I mean, prior to the Marine Corps, I mean, it was all, Vietnam era stuff, the jungle, and, I'd pretend in my backyard. I'd go run around I'd go cross the creek like I'm, crossing the whatever river they have over there and stalking through the woods, and, little blue jays and frogs were my
Enemies.
were my Viet Cong, and,
Charlie.
they were Charlie. Oh, he's coming right for me.
Coming right for us.
But yeah, so I am pretty tired.
I got a question for you about war movies and war.
Okay.
Like, are there any, and I don't want to get into your top 3, and if it does, then just say, okay, we can't talk about it. But I mean, any good depictions out there?
I think there's some merit in a lot of them, but I think that the cinematic effect kind of,
Yeah. So there may not be like one movie that gets everything right, but are there a few that like that reminds me very vividly of, and I would think, and I haven't been there, but if I were to look back at like, movies about guys like being in quality in a manufacturing plant, there's like the battle type stuff, but there's probably a whole lot of other stuff that is not like shooting a weapon
right.
in one of those scenes that probably is like, oh man, that's a pretty good depiction of sitting around, I don't know, giving each other a hard time.
So you've got, and kind of the way that we would discuss it is it's 99% boredom
Mm-hmm.
and 1% balls to the wall. And, that 1% could be over 3 days, but you may not see anything for, another month.
Yeah.
And that's not to say, that's your really exciting stuff. Not to say that, like Iraq, you can count every day at, about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Oh, it's about time to get mortared up. Yep, there they are.
Yeah.
You know, but I and it's so inappropriate that like I could not show anybody that's not a veteran or veteran.
Thank you.
This, we'll call it a movie, but it's on Vet TV and it's called A Grunt's Life. And it is like, I showed some clips to some guys and that immediately told me right then, don't ever share this outside of the military ever again. Cause they don't get the sense of humor, the very dark sense of humor that this show has. But it's done by I mean, it's produced by veterans. It's a channel specifically for veterans. And that to me, if you tone that down about 50%, you get a pretty good look of what it's really like. And so to me, that's probably the most realistic depiction that I've seen, because it just gets the emotional side, it gets the dark humor, and it's extremely inappropriate. I mean, it's online. I would almost say it probably should be rated X.
Yeah.
But it's a realistic look at what it's like when you have nothing but time.
The 99%.
Yep. And it goes through the whole leadership thing, where you've got bad leaders and, you visualize, before you go to bed every night, oh man, I just want to frag that tent, and it's stuff that you don't do, but it's stuff that you think like, man, if I just dropped a grenade in there, that would solve all my problems,
Yeah.
And so it's dark humor, stuff like that, but there are movies out there that get some of it right. It's not a very popular movie. I'm pretty sure nobody listening to this podcast has ever heard of it. If you have, let me know. But it's called
Saving Private Ryan.
It's called Bravo 2 Delta, and there's a scene in there where the enemy is attacking, and they do this maneuver to get up to the enemy. And so the mission of the Marine Corps Rifle Squad is to locate, close with, and destroy the enemy by fire and maneuver, and to repel the enemy's assault by fire and close combat. And the way that we do that, it's called buddy rushing. And so that not everybody's up at one time, and you're taking turns, and the enemy kind of has to guess on who's going to pop up next so they know where to aim. And this movie does it really, really well.
Yeah.
They actually show the movements, and I think it's actually based on some British military stuff. It's not, I don't even think it's American military stuff, but they get that part right. And then there are parts of movies where, at the big, you talk about Saving Private Ryan, at the beginning of the movie where you have they're storming the beach and you've got people just lost, they call that the fog of war. I mean, as soon as everything pops off, I mean, it's a fog and you're trying to figure out what's going on. Everything's happening in slow motion. It's like you woke up that morning, and you're just kind of fuzzy and it takes you a little while to get started. Yeah. And that's a very real depiction, because it takes you a minute. Oh, shoot, we're here. Now what,
Yeah.
So that's pretty accurate, but yeah.
That's cool.
I don't know what other, there's so many, I watched so many movies over the last.
What's the worst? Since we're doing the top three, I mean, what's a really, really, really bad war movie?
Man. Star Wars? Terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible movie. I don't know.
It's a futuristic Western. It's not really a war movie.
Star Wars.
It's definitely about wars.
It's in the name.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And if it's in the name,
I guess it's considered a war movie if it's in the name, right?
Yeah. And it's not futuristic. It was a long time ago.
But it is a futuristic Western.
From a galaxy
far, far away. Wrap your head around that, huh? Genius.
I don't know. I tend not to, if there's something that's bad, I cut it off, and I'm not one of those guys that sits back and's like, oh man, that guy just shot 40 rounds out of a 10 round magazine. I don't sit there and critique, because it's a movie. I'm there for the entertainment value.
I don't know. Some of that stuff gets to me.
Some of it does.
Yeah. Like a wheel gun.
Yeah, if they're shooting.
If you shoot a revolver like 17 times, you lose me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing about Tombstone that kind of burns me up. Is that shootout at the OK Corral.
Rapid fire.
Yeah, and then like Doc Holliday's like, oh, come on. Like, dude, you're out of ammo. Like, you just are.
You've been out, man.
Yeah.
You've been out. Yeah, I can't think of like right off the top of my head, like a bad one.
Yeah.
I know that there's tons out there because I just turn them off and I don't watch them. But a lot of the ones that are sensational or over the top, I don't do well with, And then there's obviously a lot of movies that are out now that are about, Iraq and Afghanistan and it's hard to watch, that they were good for the entertainment value up front, but when the people that were there,
yeah,
or were people that were there themselves and then know the stories behind some of those movies, it's like, yeah, well,
yeah,
I don't really feel like watching that one again.
Yeah,
because there's Hollywood does a lot of work.
Oh yeah,
gotta get that story out there just right so people will buy tickets and you'll make a whole bunch of money.
That's what it's about, is making money, I guess.
Yeah,
and that and it stinks too because the guys that are a lot of guys that are doing work don't ever get their stories told.
Yeah.
And then they kind of just fall off to the wayside. Nobody knows, where they've been.
That's kind of how the people that are really doing that stuff, they're those kind of people though.
Yeah.
They don't want the spotlight.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I'm hoping that we can solve that here in the future. I've got one of my buddies coming on that has done some pretty incredible things in his career, and he's agreed to come on the podcast, and so I'm pretty excited about that. And I won't.
We just don't know what he wants to talk.
Yeah,
about.
I don't know what he wants to talk about, or how much he actually can talk about. But incredible individual that has done a lot, and he's extremely, extremely humble. And so I'm just hoping. That's what I told him, man. I was like, dude, you need to. I'd really like you to come on this podcast because guys like you never get their stories told. So I'd like you to come on and just tell as much or as little about your stories you want to let out.
Yeah.
But I've had the pleasure of hunting with him and hanging out with a lot of these guys who've been to these places and done the things that you see in the movies, and being able to talk to them about it and hearing, the behind the scenes stuff or what was really happening on the ground. And it's pretty awesome to be able to know those guys. And so I'm hoping to be able to share that with you guys and our listeners when he comes on. I've got a couple more individuals kind of in the pipeline who are in that same boat.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's cool.
How many do you have any war movies you're just like, oh, this is horrible?
Terrible? No. I mean, I remember watching some that were kind of boring, but I don't know. I don't even remember the names of them.
Yeah.
I have some that on my list that kind of really stuck out to me that as being good, and then I have a list of some that that have come out in probably the past 10 years that I haven't even gotten around to watching, just because I don't watch movies that much. Don't have time, but yeah. So
don't watch movies much anymore. You used to watch movies.
Oh, I used to watch movies all the time. Yeah. Now I just don't have time to do it. And if I do, it's like the new Disney Plus movie with all the kids, so it's not the war movies.
Speaking of the new Disney Plus movie, newer, with Raya, right? Or
The Last Dragon.
Yeah, Louisiana Tech graduate wrote that movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah,
it was pretty good.
I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, we watched it opening night. Well, you know how they premiere them now, and then they come out. You can pay $30, we don't do that either. But we wait till it comes out, and then we'll watch it.
Cool.
So yeah.
All right. Hey, I think we ought to, take a break, listen to our sponsor, and then jump into a long discussion around some of these war movies.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
That plug's not plugged in all the way.
Which
Number
one?
3, headphone. This episode is brought to you by Admiral's Pennant Beard Oil. Visit admiralspennant.com for all your beard oil needs.
Yeah.
That's what we use.
That's what I used to use.
You need to grow it out.
I should.
Are you going to do another fall beard?
Possibly if I go duck hunting. But if I do, I'm going to use some Admiral's Pennant. That's for sure.
You get that right. Where do you get it, Matt?
I think you just told him. admiralspennant.com.
That's right.
www.admiralspennant.com.
And it comes with a nice letter from the owner.
Yeah, every one of them.
So tell them Hardheaded sent you. Thanks, Admiral's Pennant, for sponsoring this episode.
This commercial just smells different.
Welcome back.
I was just waiting on you to say that. All right, top 3 war movies. Chet, why don't you lead us off there?
Man, this is tough. I didn't do as much research as Matt. I had to go on my memory bank. I wasn't just going to go rewatch everything that was out there. So, naturally, you guys already know one of these. And it would be, if there's a movie list.
Oh, yeah. Red Dawn.
The second one.
Actually, that's not in my top 3, but I wanted somebody to say it without me having to say it.
Oh, got suckered
Like
into
how I
that
did
one.
that? Like how I did that?
Yeah,
So,
Actually,
honorable mention.
He did ask if I've ever seen one that was just terrible.
Red Dawn.
Red
Red Dawn. That would that's
Number
the
2.
one.
No, the first one.
Whatever.
Terrible.
Yeah,
I can't even stay awake.
It
You
has
have no
the
clue.
best/worst crying scene
Avenge Me?
of 2 young men I've ever seen.
Oh, that was so real, man.
Oh my gosh,
That was real.
it's horrible.
Did you know that
Avenge me.
that town that they shot that in, all is in New Mexico, Las Vegas, New Mexico.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's like 6 hours from here. We got to go.
Been through there.
Yeah, I have to. I didn't know that it was Calumet in the movie until after I went through there. I'd gone through there. So, are we doing honorable mentions or not?
We just did.
It didn't make my list.
I didn't. All right. So, I don't know. I just don't know. 13 Hours in Benghazi. I'll just say that. Number 3. I love it. It's a great movie, I think. I thought it was really well done. Character building was done well. Had guys that were there, part of that on the movie making crew, which I appreciate, to make sure the stories got done well. Just great acting, pretty neat cinematography. First movie to use a drone camera in place of like a ground rail shot that they normally do, like ground rail shots through.
Yeah.
Which was pretty interesting. I found that out in the making of.
Very
I
cool.
thought that was pretty cool. So yeah, I'll say that.
That was September 11th, 2012 when that happened.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
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 Islamic militants attacked the
Yeah,
U.S.
that's one of
consulate
yours?
in
That's one of
Benghazi.
yours?
Yeah.
Well, hey, I'll tell you what. I'll take that off my list then. Okay, we'll just
Here we
pull that one
go.
off.
Here we go.
We'll pull that one off. And
But before you move on, the when they're that scene where they've got the helicopters ready to go and then they get told to stand down.
Mm-hmm.
I know some of the guys that were in that unit for the helicopters, and I also know another team that was ready to go help, or know some guys on another team that were ready to go help them out. They got told to stand down and were told by a certain Secretary of State that they were expendable. Like verbatim.
Wow.
dude, which that's what I mean. Even if they didn't say it, that's what they were doing when they were telling everybody to stand down.
Yep.
That's crazy. So that's not on mine. I'm pulling that one off. Dirty Dozen. The Dirty Dozen.
The Dirty Dozen.
And
It's been a long time since I've seen that one.
I
Yeah,
just
me
remember
too.
watching that one as a kid and thinking this was the coolest thing ever. Kind of a neat story of redemption because they're bringing some guys in there that, are horrible people that have done some bad things, but they put them together on a team, and they ended up showing a lot of virtue and integrity towards each other to accomplish the mission, which was pretty neat. And a good old-fashioned World War II shoot-'em-up movie from back in the day. So number 2, I'm going to go with Last of the Mohicans. That is, and I try to step outside of just, more recent conflicts. But that's one of my favorite all-time movies, and it's a great, just a great war movie too. Interesting things going on with Indian spies and scouts and forts being under siege and all that kind of stuff. So through the French and Indian War, I think, pretty sure.
I think that's correct. It's been a long time since I've seen that one too.
Number 1, I have it on DVD if you want to borrow it.
And I own some knives from the dude
that did all the weapons there. I own a knife from he's the guy that made the axes, the tomahawk stuff, and a couple of the knives from the main characters there from North Carolina, Winkler.
Yep, Winkler knives. Daniel Winkler.
Sweet.
Number 1, and I'm saying number 1 by a long shot. Like, this is easy, and I'm not saying any of your guys' number 1s are wrong, but as far as the story being told through cinema and getting the history right, getting the characters developed on both sides of the conflict, showing some realistic battle scenes as much as the historians could say this is exactly how it went down to using historians to help them develop their shots for filming, even down to the soundtrack, Gettysburg. Like,
oh yeah,
fantastic movie. I saw that in the theater. Probably my only movie I've ever seen in a theater that literally had an intermission because it was so long.
I saw it in the theater too. It was fantastic.
Yeah. Just a great movie, and showed. I mean, just the actors in it, fantastic. You had some Jeff Daniels, Martin Sheen. I'm forgetting some of them right now, but there's just some really, really fine actors in it. Great writing, great cinematography, and they pulled it together really, really well, I think.
Yeah, really good. Good
honorable
top 3.
mention: Black Hawk Down and Saving Private Ryan. Naturally, Red Dawn that you brought up.
Both good movies. Yeah. All right, Matt, what you got?
I got a lot of research, and I actually on my list I've got one that I'd never seen before, and quickly made my top 3.
Oh yeah.
But like you, my honorable mentions: Saving Private Ryan. Great movie. I think they did a phenomenal job with that. Platoon. I think Platoon, they did a great job with that. Casualties of War. Did a great job with that. What else did I watch?
We didn't ask you to list off all the movies that you watched.
But I watched the ones that I'd liked in the past, and that I've watched multiple times, and then watched all of those to figure out which ones would be my top 3.
Yeah.
And number 3, Starship Troopers.
Yes.
And
what they say? All that. What was their? They used to yell.
Would you like to
something.
know more? Or no?
They all would yell something. I can't remember. It's been so long.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Anyway, go ahead.
Well, it's kind of a
Parody.
Yeah, and it's somewhat sci-fi, and it's probably about the only sci-fi movie that I watched that I actually kind of enjoy because the parallels are so similar, to the modern military, and fighting, get you citizenship and just the way that some of those, and then they were, what do you call it? They were ahead of their time having females in the infantry
combat,
and doing that kind of stuff. And it shows the relationship between, officers and enlisted and even before I'd even joined the military. I mean, I went with some friends from school, and we went in and we watched it at the theater at the Warren out west, because a bunch of my friends worked at the Warren. And so, we go to the matinee on, if we had day off school or something like that, we'd go to the matinee and watch a movie. And this one was playing, and one of the best lines in the movie is when they're going through their kind of the processing, and they're going up, and oh yeah, I'm whatever going to pilot school, and I'm going for the whatever, the dude from Neil Patrick Harris, he's going through whatever smart program that they've got for him, because he's kind of a, supposedly psychic or something like that, and then the guy comes through and goes, I'm going to infantry. And he goes, oh man, infantry made me what I am today. And, he's got a prosthetic arm, and then he wheels back and he's missing both legs, It's like, so even beforehand, I was like, oh, that's messed up.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, that's funny. Like that really hit the nail on the head. That's pretty good.
Oh, that's good.
But I don't know. It's a funny movie to me, and it's fun to sit and watch, and I really enjoy watching that movie. So it made my top 3. Number 2 was the one that I just watched that I'd never seen before. And had I watched this and known the story, I might have changed back when we did our top 3 people who stood firm in the face of adversity. And the movie is Hacksaw Ridge.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Have you seen it?
I've seen parts of it.
You've never seen it?
Hadn't seen it.
So it's a true story of Desmond Doss, who was they called him a conscientious objector.
Yeah.
I can't remember what he classified himself as a conscientious.
He didn't want to not.
He wanted to serve.
He wanted to serve, but he wasn't going to carry a weapon.
Yeah, because he's a Seventh-day Adventist, and he was not going to kill. He wasn't going to pick up a weapon and kill anybody. And but he still felt the desire to serve, and so it goes through him being in boot camp, and kind of going through that whole phase, and then when it comes to picking up the rifle, he's like, "No, it's in my file." That I.
But we're going to war.
Yeah, and so they really come down on him hard on that, and I can just picture, being, modern day, if you got a guy in your platoon doesn't want to pick up a rifle, just how much, how bad that dude would get it, and, they really did mess with him. And there is a documentary out where he's actually talking about his experience. And if you want the real story, the movie is so close, but there are a few details that they've changed for cinematic purposes. One being that he was denied his weekend liberty or whatever to go get married. He was already married when he joined, just little things like that. But he put up with a ton and just said, you know what, I'm sticking to my guns. And he even mentioned it in the movie. He goes, well, if I pick it up now, then it's so much easier to go against your values again, and so kind of that slippery slope. And so, there was even a couple of examples where he's up on this hilltop where, it's a sheer cliff that they had to climb up, and they were using cargo nets to climb up, and he's up here and he's credited with rescuing 75 guys up there. Just under extreme fire and
wow.
Crazy. And he's not picking up a weapon, but he's going and saving as many people as he can, and he he's an extremely humble guy when you watch him in the interviews. And there are a couple of interviews after the movie's over where just little snippets of him speaking. But being up there and bringing those guys down and then lowering them down and then going back, and he goes, he just kept, every time he'd stop, he'd pray, be like, Lord, let me get one more. Let me get one more. And I mean, he's lowering Japanese guys down. He's lowering our guys down. It's just, it didn't matter who it was. If they were injured, he was pulling them out and helping them out. And he himself, he goes, I probably saved 50. And then, one of the, I can't remember, I think it was his captain, who gave him such a hard time. I mean, they tried to court-martial him basically over the deal and kick him out of the army. And he ended up saving that guy's life.
Yeah.
And in the interview, they actually interviewed that guy, the captain, and he's like, I gave him such a hard time, before, and he ended up saving my life. It's just kind of ironic, and then they're asking him, he goes, oh, he saved at least 100 men,
Wow.
so they narrowed it and they said, okay, 75. So he's credited with 75 and ended up earning the Medal of Honor out of the deal as well.
Earning. I thought you said burning.
Earning.
Okay. Well,
Earning.
like, wow.
But
So I'll take that, guys.
yeah, and he, it's an incredible story about standing up for what you believe in, standing up for your faith. And he inspired his guys so much by his faith that they were doing this. They had to go back up and finish this assault on this ridge. And it was a Saturday, and Seventh-day Adventist, Saturday is their Sabbath. And so that was one of his requests was, I don't do anything on Saturday. And so he agreed to go, but he goes, I want to get my morning devotional and prayer before we go. And so the entire element waited until he was done with his morning devotion and morning prayer. And then they went and assaulted. And I mean, they took it over just shortly after that and owned that ridge top.
Yeah. Cool, man. I'm going to check that one out.
It's so cool. And he lost his Bible up there as well. He was injured himself and lost his Bible, but the guys that were there with him knew how much that meant to him, that they actually found it and gave it back to him. So,
wow.
Incredible movie. I mean, I was really blown away. It was pushing that number one slot very closely. My number one slot goes back to a movie that I've watched countless times. And I'm going to back up. Another honorable mention, Full Metal Jacket. But I just didn't think that it really encompassed all of it, because everybody watches really the kind of the first part of the movie. But because I really on my list, I was really struggling. I was like, man, I want to find like the best movie for the Marine Corps, and we need to make it because it just hasn't been made yet.
Yeah.
But my number one is The Patriot.
Yeah.
That's
a great movie.
I don't know how many times I've seen that movie over and
Aim
over
small, miss
and
small.
over. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And seeing what those guys had to go through in the, like Mel Gibson's character, and I forget his name, but he's kind of one of the leaders, in the community. He's I don't want to go to war, and
He knows what it is.
yeah, because he's been, and here you got all these people clamoring for it, and he's like, it's, this isn't going to be in some far off land, because this is going to be in our front yards, and our kids are going to see this with their own eyes, and so he was all about anything that could be done to avoid it.
Yeah.
But then when it came to his front door, he became a man of action real quick.
Yeah.
And you get to see, and I think it really relates to, kind of that actual combat, those emotions that go through that. And so it really did that well. Plus the dude's carrying a hatchet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. pretty good scenes
and
with that hatchet.
you know, and then he gets, you know, on the, you know, he becomes a ghost, you know,
Yeah.
and people just like, it's a ghost,
Yeah.
you know, but it's one man.
Right. That's a good show.
It is. So that's my number one.
I thought it was going to be like the Postman with Kevin Costner. Remember that one?
Yeah.
Very few people do.
Yeah.
Because it tanked.
Yeah.
That was kind of a post-apocalyptic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did that, and he did Waterworld.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He did a few post-apocalyptic tanks.
Water tanks.
All right, number 3, I had 13 Hours.
Luckily, I didn't pick that.
Luckily, you didn't, but yeah, just fantastic movie. Good portrayal of what happened. And hearing that from you just kind of reconfirms what I thought about it.
And I've met a couple of those guys that were there as well, actually in the compound.
Yeah. Number 2 on my list would be 300.
Ah.
Now that, I'll be honest with you, that was almost number 1 because I've probably seen that one more times than I've seen The Patriot.
Yeah. Just such a good cinematic movie. Violent, fighting, war, just good. And that era, that time period, I like it. Just swords and spears and very good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When that dude gets kicked down the well,
Yeah.
it just starts it all.
This is
I've seen a
Sparta.
clip. I've seen a clip where they're talking about that was not the direction that he was given.
Yeah.
And they were doing everything else, and it just wasn't working. And he's like, "Wow, let's give this a go." And nobody knew what he was gonna do, and that's how he did it. And they're like, "Yeah, we're keeping that."
Oh, like the actors, they didn't know that that's what he was going to do.
They just kept, it was like, "Oh, that wasn't it. Let's try this. Oh, that didn't work. Let's try this." And he's like, "I got this one." And like,
Yeah.
did it all over dramatic like that. And they were like, "Oh, that's it."
Yeah, it's awesome. Great movie to watch.
Well, and even in the Marine Corps, there's that kind of that almost that Spartan heritage. It's small units. You're fighting for each other, and we even had specific. If we were to get, in a firefight and some of the formations that we would take, we had the phalanx was one of our formations, and the Gates of Fire is actually the book that the movie is made off of. And Gates of Fire was on the commandant's reading list, and so we all had to actually read that book. And then when the movie came out, it became so much easier.
Yeah,
But
I know what happened now.
yeah, but superb movie. Love that movie.
Yeah, it's good. And then my number 1 is Saving Private Ryan. I think I went and saw it in the theater 3 or 4 times when it came out. It just had a powerful impact on me because I feel like that was the first war movie I'd ever saw that I thought, man, this must be really what it's like. Just the way they shot it and just everything those guys went through to find that dude. Every little aspect of war just seemed real to me.
Yeah,
And of course, I've never been in any kind of military or even around it much, but seeing that kind of
yeah. I think they did a great job with the character development. Like you got to know everybody in the unit.
Yeah.
And I don't know, seeing some of them die. And I think that was another thing. If you look at some of these movies that we're fans of, like there's loss involved too. It's not all, everything turns out great for everybody that's involved in it, And I think Saving Private Ryan shows, here's who all was on the beach, and here's
What's left?
yeah, who walked at at the end credits, who was still kicking,
Yeah.
which is another harsh reality to war that it captured.
Especially back then. I mean, you're just looking at the way, even on a beach landing, the way that we conduct things now, as opposed to the way they, did them back then. Now we drive those tracks right up on the beach, and then you unload from the back, so you actually have the vehicle as cover. They're not open topped, so they're not just firing right down into you. You know, I mean, because man, that had to be the longest boat ride of your life.
Yeah,
standing on those.
Oh yeah,
standing on those boats, waiting to offload into chaos.
Yeah.
Phenomenal movie. I love that one too. Matter of fact, I just watched that one day before yesterday.
So I recommend to both of you, if you haven't been to the Eisenhower Presidential Library, it's just a couple hours north of here in Abilene, Kansas, dude. They got a lot of that stuff because Eisenhower's he was over the whole European theater, and that was his decision. And he didn't know if they were going to. He had 2 letters, you know, and one of them was, if it failed, you know, I apologize for this. Here's my resignation. I mean, the whole thing, like he didn't know it was going to work. But so the gravity of the whole situation is kind of really, if you just look at the leadership and making the decisions and the planning work and a lot of detail in having to set up the temporary pier. Like they didn't have, and one of the reasons that the Germans didn't think there was going to be a full on assault there was there's no way to get the big ships in with the heavy equipment. Like if you take the beach, it's just a beach and it's too shallow to do. So like the planning on how we're going to build these floating piers to be able to get the big ships up there and unload tanks and all the supplies. And we've got to set up something because they were expecting a port to be trying to be overcome. So it gets into a lot of the detail that goes into all that World War II stuff. A lot around D-Day and being successful there. It's pretty cool.
Very cool. Yeah, and there was a lot of movies, war movies, kind of on my list that I haven't even seen. That, like American Sniper.
Yeah.
Fury. I heard that one was a really good one.
Fury's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
American Snipers, I don't know.
I liked it for the fact that it covered his issues with stress, combat stress, upon coming home. And it also showed the stress that's on the family. And so I don't think that had really ever been kind of focused on before in a war movie. And they did a good job of that in that film.
Another one that I think that did really well with the family was We Were Soldiers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that one did because they always would go back and seeing the letters delivered and how the wives would come together and support and all that kind of stuff. I thought that one did a good job.
Yeah, they did a good job.
It wasn't like I think they did a really good job telling Chris Kyle's story and some of the stress he had, and Bradley Cooper did a really good job, especially in those scenes of vulnerability and whatnot. But
and Bradley Cooper played that part extremely well.
Yeah,
very, very well.
Yeah.
And have either of you seen 1917 yet?
No, I haven't. I want to though.
Yeah, I want to see that one too. I hear it's they have the longest from a
continuous shot.
The longest continuous shot in a movie.
And that movie was built to almost be one continuous shot from start to finish.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Looks very, very interesting.
We'll have to check that out.
And I will say another couple of honorable mentions would be Rescue Dawn.
That's on like Netflix right now, isn't it?
I don't know.
Amazon Prime.
But that's with Christian Bale.
It is. It's out there right now on one of the Prime or.
Is it?
Yeah.
Gets taken POW and.
Oh, I've seen that.
Yeah.
And it's a comedian guy.
I haven't seen it. I just know it's out there.
He's in Timothy Zahn. Is that his name? Zane?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that his name?
Yeah, I think so. I know
Maybe
you're
it's
talking about.
Not Timothy.
Not Timothy. That's the.
It's not Billy, but it. that's.
We need some fact checkers.
Steve Zahn.
Steve Zahn.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, he's in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't believe nobody brought up like.
I won't spoil what happens to him.
Missing in Action. You know, some Chuck Norris stuff here.
Chuck Norris.
Delta Force 2.
Yeah.
Delta Force 3.
Predator.
I mean, there were some movies left out here, guys.
There was a lot.
Rambo.
First Blood. Good. Not a big
Second
fan of,
Blood, not real good.
not a big fan of the rest of them.
Rainbow 8, didn't that just come out?
I don't either.
Yeah.
All right, let's
Good
move
deal.
on.
Well, Chet, I think you got a good word.
I've got a good
for
word,
us.
and it's kind of not a good word. It's a bad word. There's something we should avoid. I was recently teaching a Bible study on the book of Jonah. So you guys are gonna let's do a little vacation Bible school here. Who was Jonah?
He got swallowed up by a whale.
Why did he get swallowed
Or
up by
a big fish?
A big fish.
Because he was running away from what God was telling him to do.
Yes. Why was he running away from what God was telling him he wanted to do?
Because he was scared of the consequences of what would happen to him if he did what God told him to do.
I'm going to give a little bit of a different angle on that.
Okay.
So they threw him over the boat because the boat was about to go under. And these were seasoned sailors that he had hired to go way far away in the other direction.
The other way, yeah. Away from
And
Nineveh.
His throw me over was like, it will save you, but it'll kill me, and I'm ready to end this whole thing. Like, I'm so not wanting to do what God's asking me to do because his hatred towards the people that he was supposed to be bringing the message to. So the word is hard-hearted. Not hard-headed.
Not hard-headed.
Hard-hearted. That he had hardened his heart so much towards the people group, the people of Nineveh, which were bad people, not part of where Jonah, Jonah was just some random dude. They weren't in with the Israelites. They were outside of where they were. There was no affiliation with them, but he's less than human. So he knew going there probably and saying what God wanted him to say, turn from your wicked sins, he's going to destroy the city. They were going to kill him. But he's like, well, kill me now. I'd rather not go. I'm going to die either way. I'm going to die not doing what you want me to do because I hate them so much. Well, throw him over the boat. Whale, 3 days later, gets spit out, ends up going, does what he was asked to do. And then the message was, God's going to destroy the city because you're so wicked. Well, they listened to that message. We're like, oh, geez.
They repent.
Yeah, we're not going to be wicked anymore. And we're going to follow your God. And so they did. And Jonah got mad.
Yeah, he got mad at God because he wanted to.
And then he set up camp outside the city. He's like, I want to watch him burn. And they're like, oh, no, not going to happen. And then the shade, and God made the shade of where he was hiding out go away. And he's like, I'm so miserable. Just kill me now. Like, I'm ready to die now. So he was ready to die, not doing it. And then he's like, okay, I'll do it anyway. And he went, and then he's mad that they're not going to be destroyed. And then he just sat there and was like, okay, now I don't even have any shade in my life. I was going to watch them perish, but they're not, and I'm not shaded. And it's all over. This is miserable. And God's question to him, and Jonah, I think this is only chapter 1. Hold on. In Jonah chapter 3, no, it's Jonah chapter 4. I'm very prepared for this. And he's upset that the shade tree died overnight. And God asked Jonah, should I not have concern for the great city of Nineveh, in which there are more than 120,000 people who couldn't tell their right hand from their left? So they didn't know right from wrong. They were showed it and they repented. And Jonah's upset about it. And God's like, why wouldn't I have compassion for these people? So then, application time, is there anybody that we feel like that we're hard-hearted towards, that God would have compassion on, and that we're thinking that it's not worth it? I'm not going to be a part of this. And if I am, I'm going to hate every minute of it, and I'm going to be miserable about it. And then God's going to do something and do a big work, even through you in that, and then you're going to sit back and pout about it after the fact, and not show an ounce of compassion towards the people that God would have compassion for. So do not be hard-hearted. Have a soft heart, I guess I would say. Have compassion towards people. So compassion, that would be the good word. Compassion.
Love your neighbor as yourself.
Love your enemy as yourself in this case.
Well, your enemy could be your neighbor.
Could be.
Yeah. Your neighbor can be anybody.
All right.
Yeah.
That's my good word.
I like it.
See, and I know where he was going with that one because my what's on your mind topic was going to be something different. And so I know that that's what he went with. But it's kind of funny because my daughters and I have been kind of going around and around on
a community pushing their views on to people
right
without compassion towards opposing views.
Right. And it's kind of that thing where it's my way or the highway, you know, and trying to explain to my kids that kind of that very thing is that, hey, you know, we need to love everybody, but it doesn't mean that we have to accept or approve of their actions. And it's so difficult for kids to differentiate that because they think, and they're being taught that it's all over, you know, hey, if you don't agree with me, then
you hate people.
you hate me.
Yeah.
You know, and that's and it's simply not the case, you know?
Yeah.
And I've been trying to explain to him, I was like, man, I've got a lot of friends and I love them all. I don't approve of all of their actions. You know, I got some friends that have issues with alcohol. They don't see them as issues, but you know, it's like, hey, man, I don't agree with that. I'm trying to be here and be what's best for you in the long run, which is eternity. And it's because I care about you that I'm going to say that, hey man, you probably ought to cut back on that, you know, and trying not to be, you know, cause when you are hard-hearted like that and you are, you're not coming at it from a place of love, you're coming at it from a place of hate.
Yeah.
Then now you're that stumbling block for that person because that's not what Jesus would.
Right.
That's not the way that he would walk into that situation and be like, oh, you know, burn, you know, he'd be like, hey, you know, this is, I really care about you. I really love you. I want you to come to me. I want you to do the right thing. Here's how to do it. And then you defeat that with love.
Yeah.
And to me, it's just gotten so convoluted to where somebody's identity, it doesn't matter what it is. They're like, oh, well, I identify as this. Well, that's not who you are.
Right.
That's what you are, you know, or what you call yourself, but that's not who you are.
Yeah.
And so trying to teach kids to differentiate between those two things has been pretty tough. And so I know where you're going with that because I've been pretty fired up about, you know, and a lot of it has to do with the, you know, the Gay Pride Month type stuff where it's just constantly being forced down your throat. And it's like, look, and even my kids, you know, like on children's TikTok or YouTube and Instagram and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, where they're being fed all this stuff and it just becomes normal to them. And I'm like, look, we can love those people and not agree with their actions.
Right.
And just trying to differentiate between those two.
The way that you do that, like the act of showing love through disagreement is not common on any side of this thing. No. So it would be very easy to distinguish something's different about that person because they're not jumping on the bandwagon. They're not, you know, all waving flags around, but they also don't hate my guts. You know, they've been kind to me personally. Yeah. They, you know, and you look at the other side of that coin, there's not any of that going on. It's all hate.
Yeah.
If you don't align with this, we hate you and we're going to do everything we can to destroy you.
Yeah. Well, and again, you know, where we're at in society, I think we're starting to see more and more where it's good and evil. And those two are very apparent. Mm-hmm. And it's that evil that is causing that division. It's saying, no. If they don't agree with you, they hate you.
Yeah.
You know, and Not the case.
Right.
Absolutely not the case.
Yep.
It's a good word. I like where you're going with it.
All right, let's take us out of here. Troy.
All right, listeners, thank you for tuning in to another exciting episode
Thrilling.
of Hardheaded. Hit us up on Facebook, Rumble, YouTube. Leave us a review on Apple.
Spotify.
Hardheadedpodcast.com.
5-star review would be awesome. And share it with friends and family if you like this podcast. Get the word out there.
A 6-star review would be awesomer.
Can't do that.
Can you?
Or can you?
Or can you?
Just write 6. Just like hit 5
Yeah.
stars and write 6.
5
That's all you
stars,
gotta
I'll
write.
give them 6 if you let me.
Bam. There you go.
Put the little emoji star in the comment. That's 6.
I like where your head's at.
Have a great week. We'll see or hear from you
Next week.
You'll hear from us next week.
We got to wait. There it is.
There it is.
Loves the drop.
Oh, it's a good beat drop.